Your background's so cute.
Thank you. It says Latina Blonde. They fucked it up. You can't tell, right?
Do-do-do-do. No, you can't. The
Latina
lighting
Blondes, everyone.
is hilarious.
I got my money back, but I was like, "You know what? Maybe if I position it, you can't really tell."
Is that the Temu neon, or where did you get it from? Where did
Oh,
the Temu
Amazon.
That's fucking awesome.
I opened it, I was like, "Oh, this is great." No, wait.
Oh
What
my god.
what why, like, I now I gotta return. I was like, "Let me." I just got my money back and kept it.
I
I'm
love
like,
it. I think you should roll with it, just rearrange your whole life, rebrand, but,
Laughing out loud.
I wanna ask you, I know you're, like, multifaceted, you have all these great gifts. When was the very beginning, the first time that you realized you had a gift?
I mean, I can think back to, like, when weird things were happening, and I just thought there was something wrong with me my whole life.
Mhm, that's
Because
some
I had my mom telling me, like, "Don't ever say that," or "You're making it up," and so I was
mhm,
constantly sort of being invalidated as a child, or just told that I was too sensitive, or that it was my imagination, "Oh, you're imagining that, you didn't see that." But I could see people. I was like, "Who's that woman standing there?" She's like, "Don't say that," because I would scare my mom and my grandmother telling me that mediums were the devil.
mm.
I do remember I felt a little different because my mom's mom would bring me to church. My mom, when her and my father separated, I was probably about 4 or 5, and she met a woman and they fell in love, and she was in a relationship with this woman my whole life. They're still living together to this day. So my grandmother being super religious, it was like because she was a lesbian, my grandmother cut off contact with my mother for many years. So my grandmother's solution of how she could still, like, influence her grandchildren was on Sundays, she would pick us up and take us to Sunday school, and I got kicked out of Sunday school because they wouldn't leave me downstairs with the little kids because I was like, "I don't believe that Jews are going to hell. I don't believe that Muslims are going to hell." I would, like, challenge what they were telling me, and so they're like, they told my grandmother, "She has to sit upstairs with you. We can't have her in here." So, yeah, and I, just would sit in the back and feel like I was gonna burst into flames in there, and then, I remember, like, as a little kid seeing things and then just sort of questioning it, and then probably in my early teens, 13, 14-ish, I went through a period of a lot of anxiety in school. I would feel a lot of things, but I really didn't understand, are they coming from me? I think I was just very sensitive to being in the environment of high school, and I remember though, like, I smoked a lot of weed in my teens. I remember ripping a huge bong hit once at someone's apartment, and I was laying on the bed, and then they said something to me, and I answered them, and they're like, "I didn't say anything." I'm like, "Yeah, you said this." And they just looked at me, and then I, like, got really paranoid. I'm like, "Oh, they didn't say anything?" And then I went in my head, and do you ever, like, get those, like, looping thoughts of, like, anxiety if you're ever,
Mhm.
not that any of you have ever smoked weed, but, like, where you
Yeah.
start to feel really anxious feelings, and I realized, like, I was hearing their thoughts, and so then I would be just sitting there really high, and I could hear everyone's thoughts in the room, and it was, like, wild. So I remember, like, that age kind of, experiencing some things like this, seeing things, you know, all the time, and then also being very anxious. I didn't wanna be with the lights off. I was afraid to be alone. I had to, like, lock the door, bolt it, the chain, everything, every time. I just always felt something there. But I just thought I was crazy, which I am, by the way. Like, there is a certain amount, and I always tell people this, like, where there's, like, a really fine line, and I think it took me till I was, like, 36, 37 before I accepted that maybe it wasn't just depression and anxiety or in my head that maybe there was something really there all along.
Especially back then. It's a taboo thing, you shouldn't say it, they'll think you're, crazy or, it wasn't so talked about
Well, I
back
just
then.
heard of the term satanic panic, and I feel
Yeah.
like, there are different periods in Christian and religious history because Muslims do it, Jews do it, like scaring people into believing this stuff is satanic or, you know, um, and so I think apparently there's different periods of it, and the 80s was a big one with, I think, Christianity, and it was like satanic panic, like all anything outside of this, even things like astrology were like the devil stuff. So I think there's a or just hearing the word voodoo, right? Which is a religion and a Haitian religion. Like it's just even that visceral reaction that people still have because of the satanic panic history in our religions.
And I think it's just really just knowledge. I was just having a debate yesterday with somebody about karma, and they have this negative thing about karma. And I said, "Who told you karma was bad?" I was like, "I don't think karma's bad." I said, "If you look up the definition of karma, it's not bad. It's about action, and what you put out is the action you take is there's a cause and effect." And I was trying to shift their perspective on karma because she was like, "Oh, this is karmic and I'm here and this is karmic." And I'm like, who gave you
Yeah.
that information and where did that come from? So I think really it's just education is big, you
Karma's
Wow.
know?
a trigger for me. I hate that word because I think it became such a mainstream spiritual
Yeah.
bypassing term and like totally appropriated. Nobody actually really truly, I feel like, understands it totally unless you're like really deep in that
Hmm.
path of yoga and understanding what that actually means or to do something without an attachment to the outcome or you know what I mean? Like to do something, do the good without it needing to be seen or witnessed by anyone. You just do the thing. That's a clear karma. And so I do believe in karmic relationships. Obviously, I do believe that karma exists, but I think that it's just such an interesting thing to hear that people have all these sort of, I don't know, uh perspectives on it. I just realized that I would exhaust myself trying to convince people or explain it.
So what got you into like grief and death doula and those type of things?
I think
Because that
it
came after the
Right.
mediumship, right?
it actually came before.
Okay.
I don't know, I was I think my first, like, job was a volunteer, was like a candy striper at the hospital, and when I really had an interest I was like I remember being 13 years old, I think, and taking the bus to the hospital on my own, and I was volunteering at, like, elderly care facilities, as which is, like, kind of interesting. My mom thought I should be, like, a nurse or a doctor because I was just so kind of in that world. So I think that was there. Like, I think the healing caretaking aspect was there, although I definitely felt too sensitive to be in that world. Like, I was an EMT. I did my EMT training my first semester of college, and I was, just turned 18. And that was like I remember having to do, like, CPR on the dummy in the ambulance, being really hungover, and they're like, "Yeah, because you can't pronounce people dead, like, you might have situations where you have to do CPR on a cadaver, like, it's very obvious that they're dead, but because you can't pronounce them, you have to do it, and, like, PS, once you get in the ambulance and the door closes, you could stop, but, like, for the family, it's kind of crazy." So I think that was always there, but then I definitely realized I was too sensitive to really wanna be working in an ER or as an EMT. It was just something I volunteered in college, and then, I started volunteering in hospice once I started going to a spiritualist church. They did a free training, and something was just like, "You're doing this." But truthfully, I feel like my initiation into death work happened in 2015. I was working in a bar and I had, this guy that we became friends and we ran a night together. I worked like Monday nights and there was nothing going on a Monday, so we decided to do a little Monday night party where he would come in and DJ. And we called it turned out to be a lesbian party. We called it the Monday Munch. It was insane. It was incredible, like, there's one girl, and she was, like, a drummer, she did percussion with the DJ, and it was, like, off the charts. It was the hottest Monday anywhere, and so, we had a lot of fun, and I think we kind of bonded through that, and I would he would come and sit at the bar, and we would have some chats, and I think bartending was kind of the thing that got me into, like, just intuiting things about people, being forced to talk to people all the time. And so he would tell me certain things, and he told me that his brother, was, an active addiction to heroin, and I, just, like, held space for that. They went no contact, and I just got this, like, feeling inside of me, and I was like, "You need to, like, talk to him. You need to reconcile with him." And I was like, "Especially if he's, like, where he is in his life, you don't know what will happen." And he kind of like took on board what I was saying because I come from a family of addicts. Both my parents were heroin addicts. So I have like a interesting lens into that world. But just with compassion, I was like, you don't need to get wrapped up into the chaos. I was like, but just maybe like reach out to him. This was probably around Christmas time. His brother's birthday, I think, was in January. A couple weeks later, he used to call me. Did you ever see The Sopranos? His who was his therapist, Dr. Melfi.
Mhm.
That was that was his nickname for me. He's like, "You're like Dr. Melfi, like, you just, like, tell me all these things." But he wasn't into the spiritual world, and I was just kind of learning things. And he texted me a few weeks later, and he was like, "I'm at this, market thing that they had a booth there, and one of my friends forced me to do a reading with this psychic or whatever. They did cards or something. He's like, "You're not gonna believe this shit." He told me the exact same thing that you did, that my whole life was about to change, that I was gonna help all these people and blah, blah, blah. Like, just kind of he's like, "What are you, a witch?" And I was like, "No," you know? So a couple weeks later, he messaged me. He's like, "I just had lunch with my brother. He's been sober for 3 months. He's doing amazing. I'm so happy, blah, blah, blah. We had an amazing day." And I was like, "Dude, that's awesome. Like, so happy." A couple weeks goes by, and he messaged me or he called me, and his brother, I guess, tried to do heroin again or, had relapsed. And his roommate found him, you know, unconscious, not moving. And they rushed him to the hospital, and I was like, "So what's going on?" Like, he's like, "I'm on my way there, but they don't know how long he was, out for." They, like, got his heart beating, and I think he was on life support, but, like, they just don't know. We're waiting, and he called me back. He's like, "I'm gonna go for a hike," where my brother and I used to go hiking. And his brother was really into hawks. He had them, like, all over his arms, birds of prey. He had, like, tattoos, and, he's went up to Garrett Mountain over in, Paterson, New Jersey, anyway. He went up there, and he called me after he got back to the car. He said, "I went to the top of the mountain. I'm listening to this song, and as soon as I get to the top" I have full body chills already. I can't even,
Mm,
like it's actually gonna make me cry.
yeah.
He just, like these hawks through like, a few hawks started circling him and screaming, and he's like, "I don't believe in any of this shit, but I know that my brother is gone. Like, I
Yeah.
know he's not coming back, and I know that, like, he sent them to let me know that, like, he's okay, but he's not there in his body in the hospital."
Mhm.
I was like, "Holy sh" and it was just, like, my first, like I've had other deaths in my life, like, very young. I lost my best friend to an overdose super young, at, like, 21. My classmate in school was murdered, shot in the head. My other childhood friend was murdered, also shot in the head. Like, I had, like, these deaths around me, but for some reason, I think this one just, like, was different, and I really felt it was sort of like a divine opening in my
Message of it,
life.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, it was totally divine how we connected and everything that happened after that. And so I was just holding space for him, not really knowing what I was doing, but I was like, "Holy shit." I was, like, in shock. And then he called me and he was like, "They're gonna keep him on life support, but there's no brain activity." Like, they confirmed it. They actually sent it to my friend who was a, donor transplant coordinator for Colombia, and he looked at the scans and he's like, "There's nothing there. There's, like, 0 brain activity." And so, for whatever reason, the mom did not wanna take him off and wanted to keep him on life support through the weekend and then, like, do something on Sunday. Um, that at that time of year, it was in February. I remember I had, like, some film project due, and it was supposed to have a huge snowstorm, so I didn't have my kids, and I'm like, "Great, I'm gonna be snowed in." I get to, like, finish this film project. I was so excited to be alone for the weekend, and as soon as I sit down, he messaged me and he was like, "I need you to come pick me up," because I was sober, and he was like, "I need you to be my designated driver, and I gotta go to the bar because if I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna go crazy." I was like, "Okay, no problem.
Mhm.
I'll be there." And we get to the bar. We're there like 5 minutes, and he gets a call, and he goes outside, comes back in, and he's like, we gotta go to the hospital. The hospital called and his blood pressure is keeps dropping, like, he's basically his body is dying despite the fact that they're giving him all these, drugs and the machines to keep him alive.
Right.
And so I was like, "Okay." And I'm like, I think I'm going into a trauma response. I'm starting to, like, be like,
Yeah.
like, "What do I do? I'm driving you to the hospital? Okay." And then he's like, "We gotta go pick up my parents. They left their car at the hospital." I was like, "You have to be kidding me right now." And then again, full body chills, like, so I'm driving, it's snowing, I don't know what's going on, I have to pick up these parents to take their son off life support, and something came over me, I can even feel it now, and it was just this feeling of, like, grounded presence and peace, and it was like, "Just go." And I'm, like, talking to I never met them before, and I'm like, "Hi," like, da, 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 driving to the hospital, and we pull up, and I was like, "Okay, see you later, like, I'll sit in the parking lot for 8 hours, I don't" it's snowing. He's like, "Come in." And I'm like, "Okay, okay, alright, I'm gonna go in," and I just sat kind of in the corner of the room and just, I guess, held space, and I remember very distinctly, it was like a voice just saying, "You are meant to be here. This is what you're doing in life, and this is like a preview of what's to come." And I was just like, "Holy shit." And I remember just it was just the mother and the father, and then the brother in the bed, and I remember the mother getting, like, a warm blanket and tucking his legs in, and I just, like, lost I was, like, just really trying to hold it together, but I remember just how that, like, moved me, and I could just feel her. I felt what she was feeling, like, completely, and then, yeah, at the end, um she just came over and hugged me, and she's like, "Thank God that you were here." And, like, and I was like, like, I haven't done anything. Then him and I got snowed in for 3 days, and I was essentially like a death doula. Like, it was just like, "Here's your fucking initiation, like, this is what you're doing now." And I was with them through the whole funeral and, like, months after, and we're still friends to this day. Like, it's just
Mm.
so wild what an initiation, though, but that's my TED Talk about how I kind of got into the death work, and it was a couple years later where they offered a hospice training, and I was like, "Yes." And then I saw, a TED Talk with Alua Arthur. She does the Going with Grace training, death doula training, and I just immediately signed up. So that was actually right before I took, like, my first mediumship class or anything.
Well, I think sitting with someone, in their last moments is an interesting experience,
Mhm.
you know, to watch them fade it does and I think a lot of people are afraid of those moments. Like, I've been in the room where people are like, they freak out and they shy away from it or wanna turn away from it, whereas I was never afraid of it, you know? Um, and just kind of like, those are the moments that you get to love this person as much as possible.
I did with the nuns, like, they have, like, a hospice and a respite care, and I sort of got into that, like, just doing Reiki for them, on a volunteer basis, and then developed relationships, and a few of them died during that time, and so that was like, really a whole other layer as well. It was kind of validating to my journey when they called. I was like, "Is this a prank call? Like, the sisters want Reiki?" Like, I don't know. I thought it was a joke. And then, I show up there and there's like these 90-year-old nuns and I'm like tattooed, whatever. They're kind of some of them are looking at me like they're terrified. Um, but
Aw.
they were incredible, and, I put my hands on their head or their shoulders, and they're like, "I feel God through your hands," and I'm and, like, I mean, nuns are I was super into, like, mystics and, like, that really drew my interest, and Teresa of Avila and Hildegard von Bingen, they're kind of like these sort of mystical things, and my very first mediumship teacher was also a nun who left the church, Janet Nohavik, so her story is crazy, but the way that she kind of said it was like, "Listen, the sisters are, like, sitting in contemplation all the time talking to God. They're having a mediumistic experiences
Right.
all day long." So, it's really interesting. But I think that what you said about, like, just being with people in those very last moments or, bearing witness to someone in their last breaths, like, for
Yeah.
me, Ram Dass was a huge influence and, teacher of mine, even though I just, experienced him from afar. And I remember him saying in some podcast or something that it's like being in the presence of death or someone who's dying, it's like the most sacred place that you could be, actually.
Mhm.
And it's, yeah, like what we celebrate in this country and this world, the birth of someone coming in. And I feel like this is its own birth into
Mhm.
and it's, sometimes it's messy and difficult and painful, like labor. Sometimes things don't go as planned. There's also grief also when people come into the world. So I just feel like that space is really I don't know if all of you have been in that, but it's just like, wow, you could feel so much in that space.
Well, I always say too, like, you don't know who you are until you're in that moment.
Yes.
Like, everybody grieves differently, and
As an RN, I had to sit through many deaths, So I've sat through other people's family members dying when they're not there. So some were there and some I was alone with. I held an older woman's hand because she was dying actively and it was overnight and I sat there with her until her last breath. Um, I didn't know who she was. She was just my patient for the night. And then I had to sit through my father's, but it just unfortunately, you become kind of numb to death and seeing it when you're in that field. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, like as you guys know, I've had 4 major losses, and all 4 I was with all 4 of those people, like the
Mhm.
closest people you could imagine I lost. And, like, I was not like, as sad as it was and hard as it was, the process was hard, but them transitioning with me, I find a gift that I was able to be there for all 4. And, and, you know, to me, like, that's I mean, I think the soul chooses. We are gonna choose how we go, and there are souls who don't wanna go with anybody because maybe their loved ones can't handle it or, like, can't like, some people wait to you for you to leave the room. Well, with me, it was the opposite, like, they waited for other people to leave the room so I could be with so they can transition with me because 'cause I'm calm in those moments, and I feel like I wanna go with a loved one. I want someone holding my hand, you know? So I feel like you're just going not just, but you're leaving. And yes, it feels like you're being left as the person stuck in earth, but you're also like just it's like a beautiful transition for you to be part of. So I look at it all 4 people who are the closest people to me that I had to go, witness, not just witness, but be with as they transitioned as a gift that I was able to do. And respecting that there are people who don't wanna do that, right? Because it's too hard. So I feel like it's just such a we're just so afraid of it for so many years. And then you're like, "But it's inevitable. It's like taxes and death. You can't like, there's no other way. You have to." And unfortunately, some leave sooner than others, and that's harder on, those of us left behind. But what bigger gift can you do, well, in my opinion, for me, than to be lucky enough to be there with them? And if you aren't there, that's okay, that's the soul that your loved one chose that subconsciously.
and a lot of times too is the story that people are left with afterwards too. Because sometimes seeing that could be very traumatic from them because they're afraid of it. So then they build that story. Like I've had friends where I've had to be like, "Can I change your story?" Like I've literally said that. And I'm like, tell me what happened. And they've gone through step by step everything that happened. And I said, "Can I rewrite it for you?" And they're like, "Sure." And I've literally rewrote the whole thing for them, but from a positive perspective, like from a loving space, from a beautiful space of like, this was a gift, like they waited for you and you were the person that they loved the most. And they were going from love to love. Like I always see like the afterlife as just a place of pure love. So that little step can be scary for the soul to transition. So I'm like, they needed you because you were the person they loved the most to be witness and hold them through that. And I changed the story and I'm like, just read this to yourself over and over until it sticks. And then you're not living in a nightmare of this horrible grief or trauma, that it was actually a beautiful experience and you were lucky enough to be there. And they appreciated that.
So, Lindsay, tell us, so you have like this threshold retreat. I want to hear about that.
Mhm.
So it's so interesting. I mean, I feel like I've been in a threshold continuously. Like when people talk about the dark night of the soul, I'm like, yeah, well, then you go into the threshold. And it's like, what is the threshold? It's like you're not completely, it's shedding the parts of you, the relationships, the aspects, the things, and really I feel like it can be for many people a disorienting time, but my life has been like chaos since I was born. and and it's really interesting because as I get older and I'm grounded in my practice and I I walk my talk and like every day and my relationship with God is incredible, never been better. My relationship, trust and surrender with spirit, incredible. My relationship with my work, like my passion for it, my love, that feeling of just generosity of spirit. Like I'm here, I took a vow to be of service for the rest of my life in whatever way and how that changes shape. And so I find now that that chaos, it's like, it's not about like life coming into this perfect balance, or equilibrium. And then you're just like, my life is so, no, my life is always like, if it's not me, my own personal chaos and drama, it's like, it's around me, my family or someone I know, or everyone's going through something. But it's more, what do I do in that chaos? And how can I be that like really grounded person who doesn't lose their center, who doesn't allow myself to go into burnout, who like actually does have that like compassion for myself and understanding and awareness continuously. So I'm supporting people. I started to realize like a lot of what I'm doing is supporting people in the thresholds of their life, whether it is their spiritual transformation. For years, I called what I did like a spiritual doula because I just didn't know how else to really describe it, which was that, God gave me a gift to be able to see people's gifts and then kind of be like that divine mirror and just hold up the mirror and be like, wow, look how amazing you are. Or like kind of looking at someone with the God goggles, right? Now we're talking about potentials. Not everyone is going to do the work and do the thing, but it's like being able to see that and like hold that up for them. Like, no, this is who you really are. Like, this is beautiful and wonderful, but like, this is who you are. And so that is like a huge thread, is like the spiritual one. Then the death work, which is like the threshold of death, grief, everything that is around that, and then the after. And also, yeah, because I guess I'm working in the afterlife as well.
Mhm.
I'm like a weird, I don't know, like, there's probably a lot of people that are death doulas and also mediums, but like it's kind of that whole thing. And then like, yeah, like my own, I've gone through so many since I opened my business, it was 8 years. Like so many things in my life have changed and shifted and been rearranged, and things that have burned off and been stripped away. And like what remains, it's like being open to or surrendering to this concept of not exactly knowing who I'm becoming, but just being open to that and following that, you know, inner wise one within, and listening to God, and and just keep going. Just put the next step. You might not even see the step, but just like step and it will appear. So yeah, the threshold became a theme this year, especially like I realized like a lot of the work that I do is within people's thresholds, and being like a support or being in service there. And so the concept for that sort of came through. I was, wanting to do a podcast myself for a long time, and then I had been interviewed by this YouTube show, Soft White Underbelly. It was kind of very serendipitous how that happened. And then I did another one with someone who, Ashley Hamilton, he's a cancer patient and he was considering medical aid and dying. And, people were like, you guys should do a podcast together. And I'm like, no, I know I need to do my own thing. And I was sitting on my couch one night and I was like, God was like, it's the threshold. Like, that's what you're doing, and then I was doing a retreat, but I didn't know what I was gonna do. I was like, "What do I do? Like, sound, Akashic retreat?" I don't know, I'm trying to figure out,
Mhm.
and it was like, "No, the retreat is about death, grief, and becoming." And I realized, like, holy shit, like, I was tending to my own grief this past year. I had a lot of grief around personal losses, stuff with my family, um, things that were in my control, not in my control, like, and then I was like, wow, I've just been navigating a lot of grief in my world and how, but I still have this like, wow, like just embracing it and really creating like ritual and like practices that have been so supportive in supporting that. Not only the grief, like you have to honor those parts that died, like, and
Yeah.
or dying off, and
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, the person I was 1 year ago even, like, I'm grieving that," or like, who I thought I was, she's gone, and, like, now
Mhm.
it's like this other thing, it's a more truer, more radically authentic version of me. I've never really been this much me, right,
Right.
before. And so I wanted to create a space where, people can feel supported in that. We're all kind of going through that. And it could be like an actual grief where they lost someone, or it's just like, again, grieving the parts of ourselves that are no longer there. Like life is not going the way that we thought it would, and people are being asked to pivot. And I feel like we're living in a very chaotic world right now or time but it's
Mhm.
a really interesting and potent time as well because so many people are kind of like, allowing those parts to burn off and moving in a different direction and trusting their intuition more and relying less on what we've been told, and I just feel like, we're witnessing the crumbling of empire, okay? Like, so which is kind of nice. We're the people that have been in their practices for a while, we're sitting here, we're like popcorn, we're like, "Yeah, no shit, like, we've been saying this for 20 plus years, like, we've been out in the streets for years talking about this, and now it's like, oh, really? Okay, it's happening." So,
Yeah. And I think that's important too. I just met somebody recently at an event, and I went to the bathroom and she was in the bathroom crying. And I had met her before at another work event. And she goes, "Remember that time we had a conversation where you said, like you felt lost and you felt," because at that prior event, she was saying she felt lost. And I kept saying, "Oh, lost is the perfect place to be because then you have all these potentialities in front of you." And then I started to describe when I felt lost and like my own dark night of soul and my own soul death and coming out of that and feeling like you want to die and all of that because you're grieving this identity that's gone. And people don't know how to navigate that. And so when I saw her again, and this is like months and months later, actually a year later, she was crying in the bathroom. She goes, "I remember you." She's like, "You said this." And she goes, "That's how where I am now." She goes, "I'm not lost, like I'm dying." And she goes, "And I just go to the bathroom to cry and I put the mask back on and I go back to the event." And I was like, "Oh, I did that for a while too." I'm like, "It happens." But you do it in silence, you do it behind closed doors, you hide it from everybody, and I think that people really need to step forward with it and be honest and transparent because there's so many people going through it, and we have no idea.
Mhm.
yeah, it's like the whole, like, not enough thing, and it's like we already feel not enough, we're people pleasing, we're trying to make everyone happy, and, like, who is the most unhappy, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like creating a space where people feel safe to explore those things and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm actually doing is, I mean, it's kinda weird. I don't even know if anyone's even gonna come to this retreat because it's like it's like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna go on a retreat and, like, talk about death." No, they wanna do something fun. It's actually really beautiful. My friend Susanna's farm, I've been doing retreats there for years, and it's, like, 325 acres, and, like, it's just so beautiful. The land is magical, it's powerful. But I'm doing something called a living funeral, which is, like, really gonna be so incredible there. When people experience this, it's essentially like a ceremony and a guided experience where you go through your own funeral. Like there's a photo of you, you
Mhm.
write, a letter, like and we kind of go through. It's a little bit different. We used to do in death doula training, and I've done for years something called the death meditation, where you're like releasing these different aspects of the self. But you can really see in that sort of meditation or awareness or practice what your attachments are. Like, I don't cry about, all your material possessions and your physical body. I don't give a shit when they talk about my kids or thinking about how then I will cry. You know what I mean? It's like so interesting to see like the attachments and where we are holding on and clinging to this life or old version of ourselves. But, like, when people come out of that experience, you have a whole new shift perspective on life because now it's like you actually honored and said goodbye to that version of you, which was even moments ago. And it's like you can then move forward and be, like, really clear because you processed that grieving, that pain, or that and just it's like the grief that nobody talks about, what you were saying, Samantha, like there's not really a name for it. It's different than anticipatory grief or anything else, it's
Yeah.
it's the grief of becoming, essentially. So,
How do I sign up?
come. Everybody has to come. I dragged our friend Christina there for a broom workshop the other day. She's like, "Why don't you do your retreat here?" I'm like, "I am." I'm so hungry there.
So is it a day or is it like a weekend or
It's a
a couple
weekend, yeah, it's,
a
the
weekend?
last weekend in July. I actually had it was scheduled for the end of this month of, June, and I had a passing of someone very close to me, and they
Oh, I'm
scheduled
sorry.
his, end of life celebration for June.
Oh,
I'm like, I moved the whole retreat, so I'm doing it now at the end of July, and which is fine. It's perfect, that was just when it was meant to be. So, yeah, it's really cool. I'm excited. It's end of July to July 30th, 31st to August 2nd.
are you gonna hold that yearly or
I was kind of coming up with the concept for that. I started writing about grief, and I was like, "I'm gonna do a Substack." I just started writing about this stuff because it's, like, kind of all connected to the work I do, and then I was like, "Yeah, this is gonna be my thing," and yeah, so the plan is, I mean, hopefully, if anyone, comes, I
Yeah.
would do it again, but I am also starting in August, my death doula training. I feel like I'm it wasn't something that I was really been pushing these last couple of years. I did offer it last year, but then I haven't really, like, advertised or marketed, but then since I did that, interview on YouTube, it's like everybody's like, "I wanna do your death doula training," and it's like now there's, like, a calling for it.
Have people signed up? Is it closed or is it still open?
Open, yeah, I have a few people
Okay.
signed up, but yeah, I
Okay.
have, like, I think there's probably, like, 10 spots left, right now.
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
excited. We have like a Michelin-starred chef for the
What?
retreat. We're, like, so lucky. The menu is incredible. Like, honestly, just come for the food, even if you're not into whatever I'm doing, but it's gonna be good. I'm actually teaching people practices around ritual and ceremony. I'm very grateful and lucky to have friends who studied with the Karo tradition of shamanism, and we've been given permission to share and teach these practices. So we'll be doing a Hara weekly. They're like basically an offering and kind of connecting people with the nature spirits as well. And it's just about introducing ritual and meaning making into people's lives, which is like the part that's really missing, in this world. People are
Mhm.
so disconnected. We're just like, "Oh, like extra large coffee, no
Distract
sleep."
distraction is where did Melissa go?
Oh.
That's hilarious. Yo,
Person's talking, like, oblivious, and we're like
It means I'm about to
and
look at
Melissa's
each
like
other like
it's perfect. I hope you should just make, like, a whole bloopers, like,
I
roll of, like,
know. I
things like the
know.
world crashing down around, all of the technical things.
Listen, I was supposed to make a blooper reel. It's so hard to go through everything and edit. It's so time consuming, but I really wanna do one.
You know what?
Yeah. I love the comedy, the comedic, reliefs, those things. I like to keep things light sometimes and relatable, so
Mhm.
mhm.
that's
Should
how
we
you
check in on
capture.
Melissa and see if she needs
Yeah,
assistance?
she said probably "fuck it."
She's done.
Melissa probably said "fuck it."
Am I am I the like really boring? Because I'm I have like all this depth.
No, not at
Like, I'm
all.
happy to talk
Trust.
more if you want, like, more content around, like, the intuitive mediumistic stuff because, like, a lot of people are curious about that, and I
Yeah.
feel like also you probably have questions about it too because like, you're so, like, terrified of your own gift, it's, like, hilarious.
Who, me?
Yes, you! I remember messaging you, like, 8 months ago, and I was like, "Yo, you need to do this shit," and you were like, "Oh."
She's gonna be like me, take years to finally be like, "Okay."
Listen, man, you just gotta do it. At certain point, it's like you gotta rip through the 2 words.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not afraid of anything. I don't think I have it like these 2 have. Like, I don't.
Well, that's your problem, and that's the voice that needs addressing. So, like, already, like, this is, like, my wheelhouse now, and even I'm doing an advanced mediumship course, and the advanced course is essentially trance mediumship, but it's really about the mind. The mind is fucking you all the time. Like, this is why my mind, I was like, "I'm not enough." I had a medium tell me when I was 30 years old, like, "You're a medium." And I was like, "Okay, like, what the fuck does that mean?" No, I'm not. Like, I mean, even, just my inner gaslighter was just like, "You're not, no
Yeah.
way." And then what started happening was because I didn't listen to that, and I didn't listen to the gentle nudges of, like, knowing that I had something that was a little different and maybe I should look at it. It was all that doubt where I was just like you. And the reason I'm, like, kind of hammering it into you is because
That's
I feel
okay.
like I was in the same boat that you were, and, like, because I finally was like, "Okay, let's test the waters," I'm gonna
Yeah.
go to one mediumship I read a book, Janet O'Havoc, and I, like, cried my eyes out. I'm like, "Alright, fuck." I used to watch The Long Island Medium and cry,
Yeah.
and my ex used to take pictures of me. He's like, "What kind of person cries with this big haired lady?" I was like, "'Cause it just moved me," you know? And, like, they're interviewing her with her hair up like this one day, and I'll never forget this moment. It was the moment where I was like, "Oh, maybe I really am a medium." They were interviewing her and asking her how she knew that she was like or "How did you get into this?" Right?
Mhm.
And she was saying that she used to have for, like, a period of time, she started having panic attacks every time she got into the car. And I was like, "Holy shit, that happened to me after I gave birth to my 2nd child." I was living in Rockland County, and I would get on the thruway, and every time I got on, I would feel like an accident was about to happen, and I would feel like I was, boom, like, going through an impact of where there was previously an accident, and it was like I was just taking on all of this, like, grief and pain and fear, and I was like, what is wrong with me?" I got to the point where I didn't feel comfortable driving anymore.
Mhm.
And then so when I saw Long Island Medium say that, I was like, "Oh my god, like, she had that too?" And then what did she do? And they're like she's like, "I went to this healer, Pat Longo." So I'm like, I'm on the computer Googling, "Who is Pat Longo?" And she was saying that she wasn't even really like a medium, but she kind of helped her sort of understand that she had this gift. So I went to Pat Longo in Long Island, and I was like, "Well, let me see what she thinks of me," and I did like a past life regression with her, which was super interesting. And then I actually joined her development circle for a bit, and she just passed recently, so God bless her.
Aw.
I'm not throwing any shade here, but it was a teaching moment for me because she looked at me and she's like, "I don't know if you're a medium. I don't know what you are." And something inside of me was like, "Do not listen to her." Because, like, actually, a teacher should never really tell you we could talk about your potential, but no one actually knows your true potential in the realm of spirit or what your gifts are. Like, if any teacher ever says something that could make you, like, doubt
Doubt.
your ability or, like, place that, like, and I had this thing come out, and I was like, "She is afraid of actually what you are." Fully,
Wow.
and I was like, "Whoa," and I just, like, left the circle, and it was, the witch wound was, like, getting, like, kicked up, and then
Yes.
I waited, but I had so much resistance. When I tell you, like, I would kinda, like, dip my toe in, then I would, like, do something else, then I would totally self-sabotage for 6 months, then I would go into a shitty relationship. I mean, I did everything I could to not go down this path, and then finally my guys were like, "Enough of your shit, okay?" Like and
No
so
more be dragged.
yeah, I was being literally dragged by my hair down this path, and I remember I moved after my youngest son was born. We were looking for an apartment, and, I saw an ad, and it was like, "Went to this apartment," and I just was like, "This is where I'm supposed to live." I knew it already. I get there, this guy answers, he's, like, so sweet. and he like shows me around. We go into this one room, and on the wall it says, "Am I awake?" question mark in huge blue letters painted on the
Am I a
wall.
what?
Am I
Wait.
awake? And
Oh,
I was like, "Oh," and he's like, "Oh, sorry. I was, like, practicing astral travel for, like, 6 months, and I can paint over that if you want," and I was like, "I'm definitely in the right house." Like, I just knew. It was like my guides brought me there, right? And so he at the end, he's like, "So what do you think? You want the apartment?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I asked my guides this morning who it would be, and they said it would be you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So in that house I have the chills. In that house, some freaky shit started happening, like, I would be, like, laying in bed and my son's father's lying next to me. It's like, dark in the room, but enough that he could see that my eyes were open. And I'm just looking at the ceiling. And I will never forget this moment. It was like I could see the outline of like, it looked like a neon something flying. And then
Yeah.
yeah,
it was
no,
like
horror movie, horror movie.
horror movie.
No,
No, but it was like many of them. And then I'm like, what am I looking at? Because I'm just kind of, I don't feel scared, but
fuck
I'm like,
that.
what am I seeing? And my partner goes, "What the fuck are you looking at?" And I was like and I'm like, "Well," and he goes, "I see bats above the bed." And I was like, "Yeah." It was like we were watching slow motion bats flying over the bed, and I saw it, but then he said it. And he's not, like a medium, maybe he is a medium anyway, but, um and I was like, "Yeah." And it was like 5 minutes, total silence, total peace also. We did not feel scared.
Scared. Mhm.
And then he's like, "Alright, enough of this shit." Like, he rolled over and, like, I'm just like, "Okay."
Bye.
And I was
Ciao.
like, "Hmm." And so I felt comfortable enough with my landlord at the time. I was like, "Hey, I have a question." And he's like, "Sure, what's up?" He's a banker, but he was so into this stuff, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "So I could, like, sort of saw bats flying over the bed." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, what do you think it means?" He's like, He's like, "I feel like our guides show us things, but you should search and see what the meaning of a bat is in like your spirit totem." And like they know, your guides know you're going to Google it anyway. And I was like laughing. I'm like, "Yeah, true that." So I looked it up and I think it was something about having the ability to see in the darkness and having a psychic or like a mediumistic gift. And
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, like, okay." And then maybe a month later, I was lying in bed again, always with my eyes open, I was going through a trauma phase. Anyway, and, like, a face just came, like, right in my
Yeah,
face.
See,
yeah.
horror movie again.
"Horror movie? No, thank you. Dee, 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 dee." I was
This is what
like
I say in class all the time with her. I'm like, I don't wanna live a horror movie.
and I'm just saying, like, I thought, it would freak me out, but I was just like, I see the eyes, like, it was like I'm looking at they looked glassy, like, it looked like a person's face. And it didn't scare me. I felt total peace. They're looking at me and they blink, and I was like,
Hell
Yeah, no.
no. See?
See?
"Okay." Like,
Exactly.
I was like, "Get
Blink
the
is
fuck out," and it just went like this. They just backed up. It was like they just peered into my
Yeah, yeah. Hey!
Oh, yeah, no, see, horror movie.
I didn't feel horrified. I felt like they were very gently being like, "Wake up, bitch." Like, "You got work to do," and I was like, "Okay." Yeah, and I mean, I had gone through, like, a lot, in those years, like, leading up to that where I remember, like, I was, like, really just at one of my lowest points probably, just, like, a year and a half before that, and I just was like, something is propelling me down this path and, like, really pushing me, and I was like, "Okay, fine," and it was always, like, an excuse internally, like, "Oh, well, when this happens or when I feel more balanced, well, this and this," and I had a and I also in 2015, I had that big initiation and I was, like, lying in bed and then lying in bed, probably like 5 PM, just feeling sorry for myself, like, "What am I doing with my life? Like, I know I'm supposed to help people, but I'm a bartender for 18 years, like, kill me," and I hated the bar world, but it was like, as a single mom, it was, like, good money. It's really
Yes.
hard to walk away.
Mhm.
I had no support really, and, like, from family, it was, like, just not great. My mom helped me out a couple days a week, just a few hours before they would go to bed, and that was a whole other thing as well. So it was just like I really wanted to be independent. I didn't want to have to, I just couldn't figure out a way out. And I was laying in bed and this is like the moment that like really I think changed my life. I had a healing or an exorcism, I feel. Like, I felt tingling at the top of my scalp, and I'm like, "That's an interesting sensation," and it was, like, static, but it just, like, moved like a sheet through my body, and as it's moving, I feel it, like, pulling, like, this, like, heaviness, and it goes through my whole body and out my feet, and I just jumped out of bed, and I was like, "What was that?" And it was like all of this information came in, like, now I understand, like, the download, it was like, "You have to go eat papaya. Go to Whole Foods, get a papaya, eat the whole thing," and because 'cause I'd been in bed for, like, 24 hours. Eat, and then I had to get sober, and I had to meditate, and that was it. That was my instruction, and so I started meditating an hour a day, completely sober. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was sitting in meditation, and this was not like the Tibetan Buddhism or yoga stuff that I was doing. It was like I felt my like, the particles I felt my body or my field, like, expanding out, and, essentially, I was sitting in the power, but I didn't know what I was doing for, like,
Yeah.
years. So
Yeah.
I just felt like my field expanding, and I just felt this, like, incredible bliss, and then I could also, like, just sense or know, like, it was like I was zooming out my whole life, everything I was gonna do. I just had this amazing I'm like, I'm supposed to change the world. Okay, like, Christ consciousness, all this stuff was coming in, but I had no idea how to get from here to wherever that was. It was like my whole life out in front of me and then come snap back into my body. And so that was the year I started to finally really pay attention. And I had a few really significant experiences, but just like you, I was in the same boat. I was like, I don't have it. And it was like, yes, you do. And it's
Yeah,
just
but
gonna
you
keep
you
coming.
you were seeing people from the get-go. Like, I don't see people. I know that's not the only thing, the only characteristic, but I don't the
Yeah, but
only
you
thing that I feel is like I can read things, like I could feel maybe the energies, but I don't see things. I don't
Well, I
know,
mean,
maybe
same. I didn't see anything because I completely shut it down, and,
yeah.
like, and then when I took my first mediumship class, I'm like, "I'm not a medium, I'm not a medium," "I'm just gonna go and check out this class," and 20
Yeah,
minutes in, she's like, "Okay, now we're gonna do a reading," and I wanted to dissolve into the floor. So
yeah,
I'm, like, terrified, and I just sit, and I have, like, my eyes closed so tight, and she's like, "Okay, now imagine a hand on your shoulder," and I was like, "Oh, okay," and, like, I saw a lady hand, and I was like, "Okay," and she's like, "And, like, look at, like, how old does the hand look? What is the skin like? Blah, blah, blah."
right.
Then I saw a profile of a woman, like, side view, but, like, really far back. But I could see the color of her hair, like, her cut, how her makeup was. So my eyes are shut, and I'm just describing it. My partner's not saying anything, and my eyes are closed, so I have no idea. And I finally open my eyes, and she's crying. She's like, "That's my mother." And I was like, "Whoa." So I had told myself, just like you, I'm like, "I don't see anything." And I really didn't, but it's so subtle. It's literally like if we close our eyes right now, we're like, "Oh, imagine your kitchen. Like, what color are the walls? What does the floor look like? Is there dishes in your sink?" I have a lot of dishes in my sink right now, so I don't wanna think about it. But anyway, I it's subtle, and I always thought mediumship when I watch, like, the Long Island Medium or, Tyler Henry, I'm like, "Wow, they're describing this, like, really, amazing three-dimensional they must see them in the room, and it's like, it's not like that at all, it's so subtle, and I didn't know that at the time. So, just like you, when I started my mediumship journey, I only felt things, and everyone feels things, like, we have that gut instinct or we just know, so it was like I would kinda just know things, I would feel things, and then for, like, a few years, I would be hearing shit, before I go to bed, or every once in a while, I'd hear like, "Oh, like, did someone say that?" And but I ignored that. I was like, "Oh, I'm
Mhm.
making that up," or that's just a thought in my own head, because that's how subtle it is. The most amazing mediums in the world see nothing, okay? And
Yeah,
and that's how I teach mediumship anyway. It's like, it's really about the feeling, because that's where all of it is. That clairsentience is like, you can be the most incredible medium in the world and never see anything. And, like, for someone like Sam who's like, "I don't want any horror shows," like, spirit will honor your boundaries. I remember going to my guides after I took a few mediumship classes, and I'm like, "This is fucking hard, actually. You have to,
yeah,
like, work to develop this." And I wish that I had that when I was younger, where I could just see things, like, so naturally, but I had shut it down. And I remember begging them, being like, "Can you please just show me yourself? It would make my job so much easier." And they're like, "Absolutely not. It will terrify you." And so, true to
mhm,
form, man, they have not, like, I very, 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 very rarely, only a couple times has it happened where I've objectively seen someone or something go by or whatever, and I realized, like, yeah, they were right, like, I've
yeah,
had a couple things where I'm like, "Yeah, I don't really wanna see either." Like, I'm
Mhm.
good. My relationship with spirit is good. So,
What's
yeah.
funny about the car thing, because it hasn't happened to me in years, but when I was younger, maybe like my teens, it only happened maybe like, maybe 10 times in my life, but I'll be in the car and I'll just feel like a car is gonna slam into me. And I don't know if it's maybe the trick of my eye seeing like, the cars maybe going under the overpass while I'm passing this way. I don't know, but I've had that feeling. Like I feel like, and I jolt. Like I feel, because I feel like I feel the impact.
Yeah. Well, then you're a medium. There you go. Diagnosed by me. I'm the Long Island medium. You're welcome. It is that clairsentience, right? And what
Just
you're
take the class, Susanna. Well, listen, it's an investment in yourself. Mark can tell you, I leave class and I'm, like, happy.
Yeah.
but, like, the reason we're, like, harping on you is because we both have resided there for so many years, and,
Yeah.
like, now it just I have no tolerance for my own bullshit anymore. I'm like, "Oh," if just fucking do it." Like, there's no excuses anymore. We don't have this is like, life is so precious. Why spend another fucking minute not being aligned with the purpose of your soul? It's
Mhm.
short. You know what I mean? Like, I could get hit by a bus today,
That's
and
true.
see you later. I can't fucking wait to die. Like, I mean, what a complete mission, please.
Yeah.
I don't wanna be hit by a bus when I die, but I'm just saying, like, if I did, take me, Lord. I pray this all the time. And God's like, "No, you got work to do." So, all this to say, like, I just feel that even if you're not planning on being Miss Cleo, cool. It's gonna enhance whatever it is that you're doing because you're gonna finally stop doubting yourself. You're gonna finally be like, "Oh, yeah, I do have these things. I do have this sensitivity." I feel like it helps your boundaries get better with people. Like, I feel nothing touches me anymore. I used to be like a fucking windsock, like,
Yeah.
"Ooh," everything that happened, I was just like a mess. And
Yeah.
now I don't have that sensitivity as much anymore. Or like I still have the sensitivity. I'm more sensitive than ever, but it's like I'm more grounded in me. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the benefit
It's
of it, like
healing. I think it's
understanding it.
healing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
Like, I
definitely need
found it
that
very
because
healing.
I'm going through some stuff, so
Yeah, I feel like it's healing. It helps you tune into your intuition a lot more, and
mhm.
even you learn how to ground yourself. Like, you learn these things that help you just be a better person. Like Lindsay said, like, when the chaos happens, I'm like, "Oh, is this what we're doing now? Okay."
Okay.
And then just go with it, and everybody at work is like, "You're always so calm. How do you stay calm?" And I'm like, "I don't know, because I have no control over this,
Right.
but I can at least step into it and figure it out."
Mhm.
And you're not like less anxiety, less depression. Not that you don't get waves of it, we're all human. But I think for me, when you feel like more aligned in it,
Yeah.
then,
And you
you
just
know,
trust your own inner compass more. So when other people try and be like, "Oh, it's this," like you're not influenced as much by the outsourcing of,
Right.
like I still get readings. I had one this morning. But like I have like a certain group of people that I like trust and it's like they're not telling me any shit that I didn't already really know or like I
Right.
didn't feel coming around me or in my sphere. It's like they're just kind of validating me, and being like, "Okay, yeah." And like, "Oh, yeah, I should." And I continue to trust. And I feel like it's made my faith, my belief in God, my relationship with God, it's like unshakable faith. That is my
Yeah.
number one. And I really look at it like it is a healing modality, like Samantha saying, and I treat it that way, and like with the highest regard. That's why I'm teaching it. Like I don't. That's my purpose is to show
Right.
people that this is this is the gift that God gave us to not feel separate from our soul and also our loved ones, and to know that that is the home that we're going to return to. And it's like, why not be able to access that unconditional love that is that, the other side,
Right.
um, all the time. So I feel like it's such a beautiful thing, even if you don't want to be a medium. And like truthfully, like I've had so many people that work in healthcare. My very first Reiki class, there were 2 cardiac nurses in my class, and one of them they called, like, the angel of death. She would just know when someone was about to die, and she would just kinda walk down the hall, and the family's gonna go get a snack. She's like, "I think you should just wait a few minutes," and she would kinda, like, start making things, and she would just know, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, this woman is like a saint." It's, like, incredible. She's definitely a mystic, medium, and she's taken my mediumship classes, and, like, it's like, these, like, things, I feel like it's just gonna help you in all aspects of your life to just be like Sam is saying, you get more comfortable in the chaos
Right.
because you're more grounded in you. So,
Okay.
Yeah. And I think
well,
too, like for me, what kind of like taking Lindsay's very first class that I took, where it was like the 6-week one, and there was one of the modules that I watched, and she was talking about Lindsay was saying how you can't connect, you can only connect through love.
Right.
And like I say, I'm like, I don't want to live a horror movie. Like I don't want anything scary. I don't want anything evil. I don't want anything because we're so inundated with that,
Yes.
with movies and everything else. And so like I was like, oh, is that it? And
Yeah.
I'm like, so for me, I was like, oh, I can do that. I can connect through love. I can connect with my heart. I can, so it's a safe place.
Hmm.
It's not a scary place, even though it's terrifying. It's a safe place.
Yes.
if they come visit you in your sleep, you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, Lindsay just came into my
Oh.
dream and she was like."
Yee. Oh, that's a
So
pretty
funny.
face. I don't
Thank you.
mind. You
Thank
should come
you.
down too when everyone comes down,
Yeah,
Lindsay.
I would
You'll be
definitely come down.
fun.
Road trip.
Road
Yes.
trip.
Yes.
We'll do a road. Yeah, we should do like the witches on the road. Well, you need to do your mediumship course. So
Okay.
then we'll get a camera. I'll start shooting the pilot
Showing
episode
the
of our
coven.
reality show.
Yes.
The real witches of New York, I
Listen,
we go on tour with our fucking brooms that I'm making in the
I
back.
totally would do that.
Yeah,
I would
let's
totally
do
do
it.
that.
You need a
You know
change.
how many people would watch that?
I'm telling you,
Hello.
listen,
Witches of New York.
this may be the start of it. You never
Here we
know.
go. We said it here first. It's happening.
Well, the Akashic reading told me I need to help people, but I'm like, I'm already doing that. Like,
No, more, different, better.
yeah.
It's gonna be
It's
fun.
like, I don't want to be a nurse anymore. Please.
No, gotta
Don't
get on
tell
your
me
broom and
that.
hit the road.
I'm done with nursing. Like, I'm done. Give me another message. Okay.